Let us start the dictation. Start. When institutions other than the executive try their hand at policy making, the consequences can be disastrous. The union government is charged with the responsibility of framing policy and implementing it. The government is accountable to the people through Parliament. The people's representatives in Parliament can take the government to task for both faulty policy making and faulty implementation. This is reflected in proceeding in Parliament through question hour and debates under various provisions and procedures of the two houses of Parliament. Government decisions are also subject to judicial review if they fall foul of constitutional provisions. The executive is therefore institutionally accountable. Of late, we have seen constitutional authorities indulging in policy making. The Comptroller and Auditor General is a shining example of this aberration. The function of the Comptroller and Auditor General under Article 149 of the Constitution is to audit the accounts of the Union of India and of the states under a law made by Parliament. The Comptroller and Auditor General is entitled to ensure that allocations made are duly applied and charged, and that all expenditure conforms to the authority which govern it. The auditor is not a policy maker. Rightly so, whether or not a particular natural resource is to be auctioned is not for the CAG to decide. This is not an accounting function. The allocation of a natural resource is not a budgetary allocation, nor does it have any semblance to the application of a budgetary allocation. The government may decide that a natural resource in given circumstances be distributed in a manner that serves a particular social and economic objective. If Akash were to be given free to 11 million children in higher secondary schools in the country with the objective of empowering them, it is not for the CAG to comment on such a policy. Of course, the government would forego revenue if Akash were to be priced or put to auction. It will fetch revenue for the government, but that may not be the government's objective, nor is it with the domain of the auditor to tell us in what manner government should deal with Akash. The CAG, in the context of his personal understanding of his authority, could raise an audit objection by stating that government should have charged the cost price of Akash from all parents who can afford to pay, and that not doing so has resulted in revenue loss. Supposing the CAG were to do that, what can the government do? It cannot raise the issue in Parliament because the report of the CAG is to go to the Public Accounts Committee for consideration. The Public Accounts Committee examines audit reports and prepares draft reports which are finally adopted by the Public Accounts Committee and presented to the Lok Sabha. The reports inter alia contain a summary of the Public Accounts Committee conclusion and recommendation. Although it opened to the Lok Sabha to discuss reports of the Public Accounts Committee, such discussions are seldom held, though members often use them in the speeches in Parliament on the budget demands for grants, etc. If specific issue is brought before the House and discussed on a motion, it is not put to vote. The largest scams that occurred in these days are very many. Imagine yourself in a large joint family. The family members have differences but live together as one. The family owns a huge jewelry shop full of precious ornaments and family treasures. To run the shop, the family appoints a manager and gives him full control. In fact, the manager doesn't even have to sell the ornaments. He can give the diamonds and pearls away to whomsoever he wants, as long as he can show some selection criteria designed by the manager himself. He can play favorites and reject anyone he wants. What do you think will happen? What will this manager, or in fact any manager, do? He will clearly call his friends and family first and ensure they get enough precious gems. He will also bestow jewels to those who can return favors, cash, or other gifts. Soon the shop will be robbed blind and the family will suffer a huge loss. Next, imagine the upset family fires the first manager and appoints another one. The rules are kept the same to give the jewelry away for free at the manager's discretion. Of course, over time, the other manager too fills the coffers of his friends and family. One day, the family learns from its auditors that it has lost a massive fortune. When the family members confront the current manager, he says the previous manager started it. The first manager blames the second for being greedier. The confused family listens to the tennis match style debate as blame is passed from one manager to the other. Soon the family members begin to take sides and bicker with each other. The managers continue to loot. Sounds like a ridiculous story. Well, it is. But it is also exactly what is happening in the coal scam. The large divided but still one family is we, Indians. The jewelry shop is our vast reserves of coal. The managers are the different political parties in no particular order. The Controller and Auditor General only quantified the coal losses. The scam has been going on for decades. Similar scams exist with regard to other natural resources too.